Thanks for joining Veiled Mystic today as we examine the Japanese god Tsukiyomi. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this presentation. Tsukiyomi, the enigmatic Shinto god of the moon. In the rich mythology of Japan, few deities encapsulate the mysterious duality of tranquility and hostility quite like Tsukiyomi, the elusive Shinto god of the moon. Known for his capricious nature and perilous origins, Tsukiyomi has captivated the minds of mortals for centuries through his divine yet ominous lunar realm. His complex character weaves an intricate tapestry embodying the very cycles of destruction and growth intrinsic to the mortal plane. Origins in Shinto mythology. Before delving into Tsukiyomi's tempestuous history, we must first understand his place among the earliest Japanese pantheon of kami, spirits/deities within the indigenous Shinto religion. As with many primeval belief systems, nature played a pivotal role in the formation of potent kami tied to vital aspects like the sun, seas, storms, and fertility. According to the foundational text Kojiki from 712 AD, the sibling deities Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukiyomi were the first to come into existence at the command of creator gods Izanagi and Izanami. Birthed from Izanagi's purifying ritual after escaping the underworld, Amaterasu emerged from his left eye, becoming kami of the sun and heavens. Next came ferocious Susanoo, god of storms and seas, born from Izanagi's nostrils. Finally, from the right eye came Tsukiyomi, quietly taking domain of the moon and night itself. The trio would represent primal forces of light, darkness, and the turbulent seas between in perpetual contrast. Yet while Amaterasu and Susanoo embodied their domains fully from the start, Tsukiyomi's character remained far more inscrutable as befitting the capricious nature of his lunar sphere. Only through a pivotal tragedy would his volatility surface in parallel to waxing and waning cycles, tying him eternally to the moon's gradual phases. The impetus for betrayal. In Shinto lore regarding Susanoo's banishment from the heavenly Tokamagahara, a seminal incident occurs spurring Tsukiyomi's fateful split from siblings Amaterasu and Susanoo. The trigger revolved around the shocking death of a young goddess named Ukemochi during a feast prepared for the kami nobility. As told in the Kojiki and Nani texts, food goddess Ukemochi faced pressure to impress gathered guests including Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu. To their horror, she began spewing out banquet fare from the depths of her body in increasingly graphic manner from above and below. While vomit, feces, and urine presented offensive affronts to purity-focused Japanese sensibilities, the climax came as Ukemochi drew freshly grown rice paddies forth, signifying her deep connection to the harvested land itself. Overcome with disgusted rage at this display, male storm god Susanoo killed her violently on the spot before a horrified Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi. While Tsukiyomi privately seethed at Susanoo's rash actions, his affiliation as fellow male kami prevented defending the vulgarly creative Ukemochi outright. The fallout with Amaterasu. Goddess of the sun Amaterasu rightfully chastised both her brothers for allowing the ruthless murder of their host. When Susanoo launched into a tirade defending his behavior, she banished him from the heavenly realm. The Nami chronicles what happened next. Her augustness, heaven-shining great august deity, was heard with wonder and said, "Thine heart is not upright, but inclined to spew forth outcries, and again thy words are unseemly, and are replete with rudeness. Thou must not remain in this land." After Susanoo's exile, the Kojiki and Nani pointedly described Tsukiyomi's choice to continue associating with the disgraced storm god privately against Amaterasu's wishes. In her eyes, his refusal to condemn Susanoo's conduct outright felt akin to silent complicity after Ukemochi's awful demise. When later summoned before Amaterasu to explain himself, Tsukiyomi's fateful downfall occurred rapidly. Her augustness, heaven-shining great august deity, was filled with indignation and said, "Thou art wicked, as thy name implies. I have in truth turned away from thee and hide my light forever." With these cutting words, Amaterasu condemned Tsukiyomi to eternal separation from her radiant authority by permanently obscuring his light on earth. Thus his affiliation with darkened realms took hold as night fell across the world for the first time, while the solar goddess sealed herself bitterly in a cave in protest. Through this falling out with Amaterasu also emerged the phenomenon of Tsukiyomi's lunar phases. Over subsequent weeks, his silver luminance gradually waned night by night as punishment for betraying her trust through tacit consent of Ukemochi's gruesome demise. The dynamics of death and rebirth. On the surface, Tsukiyomi faced consequences for not speaking out against injustice when it mattered most. Yet analysis of symbols embedded in the old mythology revealed deeper meanings underpinning his newly established domain over night darkness and cyclical renewal. Goddess Ukemochi herself embodied themes of sacred food arising from vulgar corporeal origins through her shocking death. This cycle connects fertility, birth and the harvested land's role in providing sustenance, even while appearing repulsive. Tsukiyomi came to represent the price paid when turning away from truth, including the ugliness spawning creation itself. Meanwhile, Amaterasu's retreat from Earth signified damage inflicted when light fades and ignorance obscures reality's messier aspects. Susanoo outwardly shouldered blame over the tragedy through banishment. But Tsukiyomi underwent a more subtle journey from acquiescence to enlightenment by embracing dimensionality behind transient moon phases governing night. His temporary lapses from full luminosity served as metaphoric reflections on the need for self-work, patience and faith, as periods of personal darkness ultimately give way again to light ahead. Like the moon emerging from its blackest phase, Tsukiyomi slowly regained brilliance over weeks while developing deeper connection to cycles driving death and rebirth. His path conveyed a quiet wisdom centered on understanding versus outward judgment, or reactionary anger as modeled by Susanoo long ago. Through this spiritual sequence of wrongs transforming into right, Tsukiyomi the moon god transcended past sins to become a worthy equal of Amaterasu as conceptual governor over night's recurrent renewal, leading into a brilliant dawn. Tsukiyomi's eventual redemption. Most analyses point to Tsukiyomi originally starting off as minor solar deity to Amaterasu until that pivotal moment, which redefined his status separate from her radiance. Prior references simply grouped him alongside her and storm god Susanoo as their equal in contrasting domains. But after Susanoo's rashness forced Amaterasu into isolation, Tsukiyomi bore the bulk of responsibility in governing skies left dark and chaotic in her absence. It's no coincidence lore explicitly describes the sun goddess weaving celestial fabric in her cave while the moon god occupied himself weaving cloth on his own lumen tandem. This evokes the way their realms maintained an interdependent balance despite conflict. In due time, other kami eventually coaxed Amaterasu to re-emerge, thus restoring light and order. Yet Tsukiyomi retained his newfound status as autonomous god of the moon and darkness, rather than just her celestial complement. His amplified role marked an ascension in power earned through quiet reflection, while bearing duty to an unsettled world devoid of sunlight's guidance and structure. Without excuses, dramatics, or the expectation of forgiveness, Tsukiyomi let action speak louder than empty apologies. His commitment to upholding obligations during a dark era eventually reunited the kami nobility with restored harmony brighter than before. Through an unwitting trial by fire, the exiled outcast evolved into a wise and trusted leader valued in his own right. Tsukiyomi emerged far more attuned to shadows often overlooked within realms bathed solely in the sun's absolutes. His sacred lunar cycle thus celebrates the necessity of life's contrasts for fully appreciating existence's luminance. Tsukiyomi, the divine moon deity in Japanese mythology. Tsukiyomi lore and legends. Beyond origin stories, Tsukiyomi appears less frequently across Japanese mythology than his siblings. Some lore portrays him interacting peacefully with other nature deities through seasonal celebrations tied to harvest moons. But more often he keeps solitary company high above mortal affairs as befitting the moon's detachment, hovering in isolation. Folk tales occasionally have him convene with other kami on celestial business or send mystical moon rabbits as divine messengers when needed. Yet intrigue endures over Tsukiyomi's lack of worship sites or grand temples to parallel those dedicated prominently to Amaterasu or other native gods, who interact more openly with people. Some theories suggest his subtle nature spared him deeper scrutiny faced by louder kami like volatile storm lord Susanoo with his colorful legends across Japan. Others posit Amaterasu's lasting bitterness left the moon god somewhat estranged from central deity circles out of lingering distrust. These qualities further cemented conceptions of Tsukiyomi as an elusive noble content keeping his own ethereal counsel high above worldly chaos. For as quickly as the moon traverses night skies obscuring its surface then revealing its glow again, so too does Tsukiyomi remain an enigma avoiding direct communion with mortals. Only his lunar phases offer rhythmic certainty in the midst of existence's relentless flux. The god of shadows and dreams. When Tsukiyomi does reveal facets of his character indirectly, it often occurs under cover of darkness through symbolically potent aspects he governs. As the kindred ancient Maya observed, our unconscious minds gain freedom beneath the moon's glow to explore realms both sacred and strange. Dreams themselves fall under the moon god's domain through their surreal revelations mixing truth with illusion. Some Japanese legends even suggested he visited mortal dreamers directly to provide prophetic insights, or twist perceptions at whim into beguiling fantasy. Tsukiyomi also maintains ties with shadows that conceal and obscure what the daylight ordinarily illuminates with clarity. Some old texts reference him wielding shadows themselves as spiritual veils, purposefully hiding knowledge that may overwhelm human minds unable yet to contain life's hidden complexities. However, far from threats in need of vanquishing, the darkness and shadows enveloping Tsukiyomi's realm instead offer sanctuary. Within rests the wellspring of imagination alongside portals for gaining self-awareness to fuel spiritual growth. Under the moon god's grace, prayers once called upon Tsukiyomi for safety during night travels along isolated roads, beseeching his luminance to guide lone wayfarers through treacherous mountain passageways. Soldiers heading to battle sought assurances from the moon above that their paths led to justly deserved victory instead of defeat's dark demise. His glow likewise protected sacred grounds from disruption, as it still illuminates the inner courtyards of revered Shinto shrines after sunset. These holy sites offer sanctuary for harmonizing day's toil with night's dreams and intuition through the interconnected cycles flowing within cosmic balance. For while dazzling goddess Amaterasu rightfully draws praise as Japan's resplendent sun deity, her enduring lunar counterpart also deserves veneration. The cool luminosity of Tsukiyomi's ephemeral yet eternal passage across skies immortally links the realms above to shifting fates below,